You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Welcome to episode 7 of Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark, and I'm back as always with co-hosts Hyung and John. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Before we get into today's hobby headlines segment, let's talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. John, you were the first to tell me actually about his brutal ACL injury, which means he's out for the rest of the season. So other than hoping he recovers well and quickly, from a hobby standpoint, any quick thoughts from you guys? Do you think his prices will go down? If it does, are you buying right away, or are you waiting to see how he recovers from, this kind of injury?
I think prices aren't moving too much. I think there's too many Acuna fans that, everybody's looking for the deal now, and nobody's kind of, letting it go. So I think I think the market's strong, but he's a beauty. He chose to go to the All-Star game, and then do surgery after for the fans, right? Which I thought was pretty cool of Acuna, right? So yeah, what a champ.
There's this is not good for baseball. It's not good for the hobby. But investors, there is an opportunity here if you ever wanted to get into Acuna. I'm not sure how much the prices would move. I try to think of Klay Thompson. So when Klay Thompson got injured, his prices tanked. Little different because he's a little bit older and he kind of had subsequent consecutive injuries. And I think a lot of people are kind of scared this might be sort of career ending and his price really tanked.
Yeah.
But if you ever followed Klay Thompson's injury and his prices, it tanked right when the news hit at the beginning of the season when he was out for the whole season.
Right.
And then slowly over the course of the season, because people would think, I'm not going to touch Klay. In the off season, there's going to be a great buying opportunity. That's sort of what most people will say.
Yeah.
But Klay's prices went rock bottom, and then it slowly made its way almost all the way back. I think it went to 70%, 80% of value by the time off season hit. Mm-hmm. So that's something to watch for people that want to get into Acuna, maybe want to get into some bigger Acunas. I'm not sure if prices will actually move, but it's just something to watch. I think if Klay is any indication or key, it could be trying to make a move on it pretty early on, rather than thinking the move is in the offseason. Could be the play here to try to get into some Acunas.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Actually, I was watching on eBay some Acuna cards for a while, and then as soon as that injury hit, one eBay seller dropped their price by $100. So you're seeing a bit of a dip.
There you go.
And to your point, John, I think you'll have some eBay sellers that are kind of looking to just unload right now because
the panic,
right? So I think if there is an opportunity, it's probably now or soon. And I do agree with you, Hyung, as well. I don't think there'll be much of a dip because, every day that we wait is another day Acuna gets healthier and people still believe in Acuna's talent.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's all it takes.
Exactly. So yeah, if I 100% agree with your strategy, John. If you're going to look to get into Acuna and you see a slight dip, don't think that's going to go even further down. That might be your best shot to get it at a slight discount, especially the higher end cards. Because the one I was looking at was a Topps Chrome update, autograph, sticker auto. And yeah, it went from $17.50 to $16.50. So it's pretty nominal, but hey, you could save $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. The only thing that it will stop it from doing is to keep going up, right? Because he's not playing.
Right.
So it'll be kind of steady for a little while. So you might have a chance to buy at its current prices too.
Yeah. Yeah, but as a fan, it sucks all around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's too bad. I know when we played Pick 1 or when we compared Acuna Jr. to Tatis Jr. in our first episode, I think, I picked
Right.
Acuna.
I think I remember.
I picked Acuna because I'm like, Tatis is more likely to get injured.
I remember.
Yeah. You know what? Both of them play so like erratic,
They
all
play
out,
hard. Yeah.
They play really hard, and that's what, worries a lot of, I guess, investors. But,
Sure.
like people, like the kid's young, he's going to rebound, and he's already has done a lot of damage in the big leagues, and he's going to continue it. I don't think it's a what doesn't kill you make you stronger kind of deal. And like the higher end cards, I'm telling you, they're not moving. People are like, if anybody has, you go on Facebook and stuff, they're like, if you have any, Acuñas you want to unload, feel free. And nobody's really unloading the higher end stuff because, those are, high in demand still, right? So I see a big dip on, again, the base game always gets affected, right? And you're going to see a big correction in that sense. And yeah, you might have a few, a bigger Acuna cards that go on sale, but I'm telling you, Acuna was always a hot commodity since 2018. He was the guy to have, and people, there's some crazy Acuna collectors, and they don't even care about pricing. It's all about their collection, right? So it's like they're not going to unload, in a situation because they truly believe, right, in Acuna. And there's some people have the most unbelievable Acuna collections I've seen out there, in some of the like the true collectors where the unicorns come out. So I think, if you believe in Acuna long term, like he's a GOAT type player, which I think he's gonna be, the next GOAT, right? Like he has all the makeup to kind of maybe be as good as, or if not better than, Trout, right? So there's nobody else I guess that I see right now kind of on that pace, right? So that's just my opinion.
Well, we're hoping for the best for Acuna, that he gets back on the field as soon as possible. All right, with that, let's get into today's hobby headlines. Now, there's plenty of places to get your hands on sports card boxes, but one of the cheapest ways is to get blaster boxes in retail stores, like your Walmart and Target stores, Indigo or Chapters even for Canadian friends, another place to get some blasters. But with the crazy boom of the hobby, it's been harder to get some of the more premium blaster boxes in stores. We've heard stories where you have to line up at 5 or 6 in the morning, right, on the days that the department stores stock up on sports cards. And if they're in stock, the prices are jacked up, and some products, or the lower end products, the ones that aren't overly expensive, just end up sitting on the shelves. So the question is, what do you think is the future of retail in the hobby? Is it no longer accessible for kids or even just a casual collector? Does it even matter? Johnny, maybe you can start, because you mentioned that you recently got a blaster box of Panini Select Baseball?
Yeah, I did just over the weekend.
Yeah. So what was your experience like?
Yeah. So you guys know, like I collected a lot. I bought a lot of retail Topps Chrome Baseball last year.
Yeah.
Super fun rip. Everyone who did it. Prices were, if I can remember, jumbo packs are probably like $16.99. Hangers are probably $22, something like that. We're talking Canadian prices, and blasters are probably $29, something like that. So I walk in, I grab a pack of Select. I got lucky, like my wife did some kind of magic. She argued some pricing, and I ended up getting half off. That's why I ended up buying it.
Yeah.
But retail in Canadian dollars, it was $49 plus tax.
Wow.
And you look at the pack, like the blaster boxes usually come with a bunch of packs in it. That's why it's a blaster box.
Yep.
Comes with 3 packs, and there's 4 cards. Wow. And my brother and I bought one, and the hit so all 3 packs come with a scope prism, and then there's 1 silver. Or I guess if you get a huge hit, it's a different color, but you're probably going to get a silver. And to pay $50 Canadian to get 12 cards out of Baseball Select,
right.
Man, it's crazy. So I don't know how I feel. Like the main thing is for the kids, right? Like on the one hand, you have the hype train, bad for the kids because the kids can't get the product. Now Panini and these companies want a piece of that pie, the piece of that secondary market. They're seeing that their $25 blasters are selling for $50. So you know what? I'm gonna mark it up to $50 to make up that profit. and now it's sitting on shelves, so the hype has died down a bit in terms of that retail like grab game, but now kids can't buy it again, right? Like, it's sad to think that a kid for his birthday wish is, Daddy, get me some Baseball Select, and he gets one box of Blaster that's 12 cards for $50 for his birthday. Like, you know, that kind of makes me sad. You think about our days when we collected Upper Deck, like, you wouldn't get 3 packs of Upper Deck for your birthday present. Like, your dad would probably buy you a big box or something that costed $80, and you get like 20 or 36 packs, right? So that's what was so fun about the Rip, and also that giant box has some kind of guarantee autograph or something like that. That's what's fun about this for the kids, right? So it goes both ways. It's kind of tough to see. I don't know how I feel about either way, whether it's the hype train or get rid of the hype and the retail is really expensive. But I'm forced to think about sneakers. So like, if you guys know, if you follow sneakers, like, Jordans were the craziest thing back in the day.
Right.
And as Yeezys were entering the game, you know, Jordans were, you know, the story, like people lining up, huge fights, people probably getting killed over Jordans down south. And then Jordan realized, hey, man, we're selling Jordans for $160. We're going to jack it up to $225. We're going to make up the secondary market, that profit that the secondary market. And what ended up happening was that really affected Jordan as a brand. Like, the hype died down because now everybody's like, yo, Jordans are too expensive. They started sitting on shelves, and that gave opportunity for Yeezy to really make a name in Adidas. That gave huge opportunity. That's pretty much what made Ultra Boost come onto the scene, because Jordan, the lure and the hype, the craziness of that Jordan brand just died down because they're just too expensive, right? So that's kind of what I'm kind of feeling about what Panini is doing right now, just jacking up prices. I feel like they're contributing to a bit of the hype dying down. So I don't know. It was eye-opening. It was really disappointing to see like Blaster boxes being over $50. I also bought, it was like a Bowman jumbo pack I ended up buying for fun, and that was 28 plus tax, like a jumbo pack.
Right.
And then the Bowman Blaster was like 50 or 55 or something insane. I was like, I can't buy that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways.
What do you think, Hyung?
I mean, retail's tough for me. You know, I don't love retail. I don't love ripping retail because I find it's boring. Like, personally, I that's why I go hobby box. I rather rip less and, you know, spend money on a hobby box, because like you're going to get your true hits, right? And obviously you can't always do that because hobby boxes get expensive, but I think the solution for all that is, you know, support your local card store, and brands are coming out with more secondary brands, and there has to be a give and take, because we hype around the prices of, you know, cards, right? And print runs are extremely important in that. And unfortunately, you know, there's only a certain amount of retail boxes available, you know, in general, because it's correspondence to the print runs, right? So, and print runs correlate directly to current prices, so we always, you know, we're always happy about the prices, but there's always going to be a give and take, right? So in that situation, I'm like, you know what, retail kind of sucks anyways, so, you know, support your local hobby store and, you know, buy a hobby box and rip less. I guarantee you're going to have way more fun too. But I do have, like, you know, I remember back in the days when, you know, there are ways, like, you go on walmart.ca, at least on the Canadian website, and people, like, 2019 Tops, for instance, hanger packs were sitting there for $16, you know, and you look at 2019 Tops, you know, Top Series 2, and you got, you know, Tatis, you got Vladi, you got Alonso, you got Eloy, you know, so it's $16, and you're pulling, you know, Vladis every 2 packs, you're pulling Tatis every 2 packs, you know, and at that point, you know, it was so worth it because, you know, the game was like available, right? But now it's like so difficult to do it. So I did enjoy ripping retail at one point, but then now it's to a point where what's the point, right? Everybody's trying to, you know, get that to essentially flip. They're not ripping it, right? So it's like, hey, if kids want to rip, go rip Stadium Club, because it's a fun set, or, you know, there's a lot of sets out there that, you know, I think could be fun with, you know, family, or, you know, for a hobby purpose, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah, therein lies the problem. Stadium Club was crazy expensive too.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's so sad, man. I was like I look at the blaster. I'm like, oh my gosh, even Stadium Club was sitting there too, and Topps paper blaster was 35 plus tax Canadian. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I remember buying retail blasters in 2019 as well, like the Topps Chrome, and that's the Tatis rookie, right? The horizontal.
Right, yeah.
And I actually
Yeah.
got one, and of course I sold it way too early. That's another dead wrong.
It was $30, right? $30
Paper hand, yeah.
blaster, right? Or
Exactly,
like
$29.99
Canadian.
Exactly right. And so it was worth it, right? Like to get these hits. And back then, you could grade them easily or more easily before the huge backlog and the situation that we're in right now, right? But I don't think it's going to go back to what it used to be. And I think that's what people are complaining about. The ones who were in the game early, like we just can't go back to those times because the hobby has just boomed and
It's changed, yeah. It's not
exactly.
the hobby anymore, yeah.
100%. So if you're waiting for that to happen and you're complaining about it, it's you're wasting your breath, right? So I think it'll evolve again. It'll ultimately be supply demand economics, right? When people are just like you're saying, John, like realize that $50 for 12 cards essentially is what you're paying. It's going to sit. Eventually those boxes are going to sit, and then you'll see those 50% off sales, 75% off sales. And then as a result, because those drop in value, you probably won't be able to sell those hits for as much because they just have dropped in value overall, those products, right? So maybe one of the solutions for kids to get involved, maybe it is to produce some of those cheaper products like Topps Fire or, like the ones that are
exactly.
Fun for kids, but for most collectors, it looks ugly. Maybe you just keep those cheap and, every once in a while you put in a hit.
Like a Chronicles.
Like a Chronicles, yeah.
Just banking on that prism.
But yeah, the last time I went to Walmart to look for just to see what blaster boxes are available must have been like 3 or 4 months ago. And the shelves were just clean.
Barren.
Yeah, it was there's nothing there. Every once in a while, like maybe a month before that, there were like Topps Heritage hangers. And I just got excited because it's like, wow, they're actually here. It's not, it's not sold out. And then I looked at the prices and, it's $45 for a hanger. And I'm like, no, forget it. Like I kept on going back and forth to tell you the truth, whether I was going to buy it. I'm like, it's and retail for me, ultimately it's more of a gamble, right? Like you're saying, Hyung, like I rather for people who can afford hobby boxes or save up for at least one hobby box instead of buying 3 or 4 blasters.
Exactly. Just hold off. Wait a week.
It's a test in patience, guys. Come on,
Hey man,
and saving.
I had a good time. I had a really good time ripping Topps Chrome baseball, and I think it has a lot to do with the class, right? If there are multiple decent rookies in the class, and you just want to load up on base and a bunch of refractors, because you're talking about just sheer volume and odds of getting base and refractors, right?
Right.
I still got a lot of autos. I didn't get as much color as I would have, say I spent the same money on hobbies. So I guess that's the big difference. You're kind of like basically paying the premium to get the guaranteed auto and the guaranteed color. But I had a lot of fun, man. And I think it really depends on the year. If there's a 4, 5, 6, 7 really good rookies to collect, retail could be a fun rip because you're literally hitting probably one of those rookies and once every 3 packs or something like that, right? So it depends on the class, but retail could be a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
That reminds me of another point I was going to say is that you got to look at you got to pay attention to what manufacturers are doing now too, because as they look to release future retail boxes, I think they're limiting certain hits that you can get in retail boxes, and they're making the better
That's
hits.
what I'm always afraid of, you know? It's like the game is rigged, kind of, It's you're fishing, you're not going to pull anything crazy. Like I've ripped a lot of retail, and it's rare you're going to pull something crazy. But I do see, crazy hits floating around. Yeah. So there is that. There is like there's a chance, but overall I think if you experience like a hobby pull, like a big hobby pull, it's like one of the greatest greatest things. So
I
it's
know,
like,
I know.
you know, the
Love
chances
it.
of you doing that on a hobby box over a retail box is just more. So that's why I like the
Sure.
hobby lure. Yeah.
For sure.
Speaking of which, what would you say is your biggest hit that you got from a retail box?
Oh man, I have to think of this because it was that exciting.
I'll go first then, because I'll probably pale in comparison. I haven't ripped that much retail since I got back into it. Mine will probably be like, I ripped 2020 Series 2 Luis Robert, and I hit his rainbow foil. It's probably my best.
Oh, that's nice.
That
Yeah.
and like So at the time, like, you know, while Luis Robert was super hyped, it was a pretty big hit. But
Yeah.
that'd probably be my biggest.
Nice. Mine was Topps. I can't remember if it was Series 1 or Series 2, and I can't remember if it was 2017 or 2018. It was the one with Chris Bryant on the blaster box. So
2017.
maybe. It was yellow. That's all I remember right now. But the big hit I got was an Alex Bregman variation. And it was a horizontal.
Nice.
And those are tricky, eh? Like, they look like regular cards.
Yeah.
And then you have to like look at the code in the back of the card.
Yeah.
And then those variation, like even now, I still don't get. Well, I guess it's because it's a short print, but those are pretty valuable. And I was surprised at like what I sold it for eventually. Like, it was a $30 box back then, and I sold it for like $150 just from that card. So that's my biggest retail box hit. Yeah,
You know what? I'm struggling like here. I'm just naming base cards because that's all I pulled. You know, with not too much excitement. But I would say like a green Dennis Santana. I don't even know if he pitches anymore.
Okay.
No, you
but
got,
yeah, I didn't have any luck. Sorry, and that's how
You got
like,
that camo. What's the kid?
Oh yeah, Ryan Mountcastle that one time.
Mountcastle camo. Like that was
Boom.
like pretty
That's
recent.
right. Yeah, that is my biggest hit. That was
That
the
was
only
huge,
hit. That's
man.
why. So, oh yeah, that's a crazy story. That was our buddy Roy. He said, "Who wants blasters?" And I'm like, "Nah." This was the perfect example. It's like I don't like retail, and everybody's like ripping. So I was like, "Okay, I'll take one." And sure enough, you know, I pull a camo out of 25 Mountcastle that I traded the next day for a Juan Soto PSA 10 update, and then
That's a
I ended
good
up
trade.
selling that because it was liquid, and I sold it for like when Soto's updates were going for $350. But yeah, thanks for reminding me. That was probably my one lucky hit.
that was huge.
Yeah, it was
Sweet.
sweet.
Camo 25. Can't believe that even comes out of retail.
Yeah,
Well, there you go. That's our take on retail. Yeah, I feel like overall it's kind of a lotto ticket. It's fun to rip, you know, and you know, shouldn't expect too much out of it in terms of flipping. But the other thing is, like you mentioned, Hyung, yeah, if you do have a local card shop, like, do your best to support it. You know, I think they're coming
Absolutely.
back, right?
100%. We need them.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, great point.
Awesome. All right, moving on to our next segment, top 5. And Hyung, you're back up to the plate, and you said that you stick to a hard 5 cap this time, right? So
As close as possible. You're leaving
here
some
we go.
tough tasks because
Whoa.
print runs. We're in the modern era, so we
Yeah.
have a lot more print runs and a lot more sets. So there's a lot more cards available.
all right,
and
all right.
like I say, true hobbyists, right? True hobbyists know they have a top 15. That's their top 5. So we'll keep it at somewhere close to 5.
Okay, that's
How
cool.
about that?
So which
All
player
right.
did you end up choosing for your top 5 list?
You know what? I thought Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was inevitable. I'd say because I guess there's a lot of options there, and I want to kind of run down, I guess, what I feel is kind of like long term, and there's. I guess long-term opportunity growth and kind of like the popular 5, I guess, and
Sure.
where you could kind of where it came from and kind of a little back history. But there are so many other cards and sets that like are available. Like, I left out like the Heritage and all the classic sets that I love. There's so many good Vladi rookie cards, so that's why it's like condensed into 5. I'm gonna just try my best to make it quick and sweet, but there might be a little more than 5. Okay? So first, we're going, I got to go 2016 Bowman First Chrome. I like this because you have a base and an auto. I think it gives you, or the collector, an opportunity to kind of budget yourself where you're at. So I think that's one, and he's like 16 years old at the time, 2016 or something like that. Ridiculous, right? So, and he's always been the number one prospect. So from a collector standpoint, that 2016 Bowman Chrome is like, Bowman First Chrome is an iconic card, right? It's an iconic card that's gonna have a tremendous potential. Already the autos are crazy, but you could still get, you know, base PSA 10s for pretty decent price. And I think it's a lower pop card than, you know, their flagship rookie cards in 2019. So I think it's a great number one. And you could kind of do.
2016 is that low print run, right?
It's very tough, and those Vladi autos are horrendous looking. I mean, this guy is just learning to, you know, sign his name, and you know, it's an art form in its own. Good luck with finding a 10 in any of his autos, by the way. So that's going to be another kind of I guess supply demand thing, is people that look for good autos. The number 2 rookie card I'm gonna go with is his Series 2 NNO, and in PSA 10 the pop's right now about 3,500. I think long term this is a very cheap kind of like rookie card that is kind of like his staple image of rookie cards. It's going to be an iconic card in my opinion, and it's a super sensitive grading sensitive card. And yeah, I think it's his first rookie card first and foremost. It was a late addition to Series 2, which
so no number is the flagship, to be clear.
Yeah, it's the flag. It is number 700. It is supposed to be. That's why his complete set is number 700. But they kind of printed it as an SP or a short print. But it's nothing like the Acuna bat down in Series 2, right? They tried kind of doing the same thing, but print runs are like 10, 12,000. You're pulling Vladis out of, you know, the NNOs out of the Series 2 hangers I was talking to you about every 2 packs or so, 2-3 packs. On hot packs at least, right? So I'm going to add the Chrome version of that because why I think that card in particular is going to be very iconic is there's no paper parallels, right? And the Chrome becomes the parallel. So the only in that image you got the colors in the Chrome, and then his basically 203, I believe, or 201. I get Tatis and Vladi mix. I think it's 201. Chrome is also a pop 3,500. So you look at like the way kind of like the Miggy Cabreras of Topps versus Topps Chrome, and you could see I know there was a bigger variation in population between the two, but these are both 3,500. So it's going to be interesting to see if Chrome kind of like pulls away, just because everybody starts liking Chrome a lot more than kind of like the paper, kind of like the hobby kind of dies, the hobby logic I guess dies, and now like this is kind of like the demand is Chrome is a lot higher. So it's going to be interesting, but I would pick that just based on there's no parallels, right? So and just to kind of give you a comparison with Vladi's NNO of pop 3,500, Mike Trout's 2011 Topps update is pop 5,400. So for it to sustain a price of like, let's just say 3,000 in a PSA 10, you know, that just shows you, you know, the demand is still strong for a player like Trout. You know, you're looking at Vladi, you know, what type of player can he be? You know, so you look at the NNO at like 300, you know, that might be a very, very good long-term buy if you're on a budget, right? So I love that as a number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Topps Chrome Sapphire because it's a little different in the situation because it's a different number 340, I believe, his card number, but it's a pop 199 in a PSA 10, and Sapphire boxes are becoming more expensive. It's basically the higher version of, you know, the Topps Chrome Parallel, and I believe that is going to become one of his most desired rookie cards, because it's one of those kind of liquid situations where there's enough cards out there that it's very liquid. You know, sales are happening, but you know, it's low enough where prices are, you know, going to sustain itself. So just kind of alluding to Topps Chrome Sapphire a bit, 2018, Ronald Acuna's year, his was pop 96 versus, Vladi's is pop 199. So there you could see the increase in print runs affecting kind of like the results of that. I will say I've submitted a lot of Vladi Topps Chrome Sapphires, actually. I think I submitted over like 11 at one point. Like, this is early. And the issue with Topps Chrome Sapphire is the centering and cut, right? It's like you'll see a lot across the pop. I mean, most of them will PSA 10, but there's going to be a lot of 1, 2, 3s, and 4s because the centering and cuts are so terrible on that. And at one point, I remember PSA was returning cards with Vladi Topps Chrome in general because they thought it was cut. Right, so people were getting kind of like the returning label that it was cut, but then it was actually a little smaller. If you remember ripping Topps Chrome, Vladi's rookie cards were a little smaller, which was kind of weird. I don't know if that was a dream or it's been so long, so much has happened. But anyways, going to number 4, I'm gonna go with Vladi's Topps Chrome Auto. I think it's a card that I think is still affordable. It's starting to get into the price like where the colors are starting to get unaffordable, but I think you could get a base for a reasonable price. And the reason why I say this is I think long term, Topps Chrome is kind of like that staple, and this is his main auto card. And if, like I said, bringing back his autos, I'm telling you, he is a horrendous autograph signer. Like, he just, because they grade autos, right? Like, and if you have streaks, if it's not full contact, you're not getting that 10 auto, right? So it's like, then you look at the condition of the card and you're like, damn, I don't want it to PSA 9, and then you want to send it to BGS, but then the auto's gonna 9, right? So you're stuck with a PSA 9, right? So it's just one of those things where, I think a lot of people look for the autos, a lot of hobbyists, they know this issue that Vladi has terrible autos. So Topps Chrome actually is one of his most consistent autos, and some of his color ones are like beautiful autos, one of his better ones. So I think Topps Chrome Auto long term, even though prices are expensive, I think they have tremendous room to grow still. And then last, number 5, I'm gonna go with another auto because a lot of, I guess, investors or people new to the game won't know this, is his Topps Mystery Auto in Series 1.
Right.
Okay, and this is technically his first card, if you think it. But the thing is, it was a redemption, right? So it was one of those things where Series 1 nobody was touching because nobody was in it, but you could pull these mystery autos, which was Vladi, ended up being Vladi, and B was Eloy Jimenez, right? So it's that NNO image with essentially his autograph, which I think is unbelievable. Like that's gonna be one of the most iconic cards for him looking back, because you don't see any autos with that image in particular. So if you think about any Acuna bat down with an auto, for instance, and I think over a long period of time, because the redemptions are now expired and there's not too many, it's super low pop in a PSA 10, tough auto. And technically it's his first card, so I think it's a super underrated card, and the market agrees, and I think they started reaching limits over 2K for a PSA 10, right? So it's one of those cards where it's super rare, but I think long term it's gonna even have a lot more room to grow. But yeah, those are my top 5. Obviously I left out a lot of cards because like I said, you could list 15 of Vladi's cards and still keep going on, right? And a true collector will kind of have that list and even go into his second year stuff. So that's my top 5. Maybe I missed something, but like I said, Heritage was a tough pull for me. It was either the Mystery Auto or the Heritage for me, but yeah, those are my top 5 for Vladi.
That's a solid 5.
I didn't even know Mystery Auto existed. I gotta look that up. That's crazy.
No, that's a solid 5. I like it. I just looked up the Mystery Auto, and now I kind of want one.
I don't know what they're selling for. I haven't checked in a while, but yeah.
$2,000 sounds reasonable. I don't I can't imagine it still sells for that, but that sounds actually really reasonable. If you're in that ballpark.
There's an ungraded one that's sold for $868 US, so that's not bad.
There you go, raw $868. So yeah, around I'd say $2K. Probably somewhere around there.
Nice. Johnny, what you think of Hyung's top 5 of Vladi?
I like it. I think it's bang on. All I gotta say is, for those listening, this is a good opportunity where, Hyung keeps mentioning iconic images. We talk about flagship, Tatis flagship, Acuna bat down. So this is a great opportunity where people could start looking at nines. We have some buddies in our chat group that have bought, like, for example, one of our buddies that got in pretty early, exactly what you're talking about. Topps Chrome, Vladi Auto refracted to $4.99, but he went for the PSA 9, right? He got it for on the low, super cheap. No one was watching it. And I'm sure now he's probably 5x'd it easily, right? So these are, when you're talking iconic images, I think people shouldn't be too scared of looking at alternatives like a PS, rather than going to Bowman Sterling or an alternative rookie card. This could be going for PSA 9, a PSA 8 of an iconic image could also be a play. That shouldn't, it shouldn't be, it could be a very underrated play is what
Nines
I'm
are fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Especially when the higher end PSA 10s are just way too much for the average collector, right?
Right.
It's a good alternative play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Mike Trout, his update, right? Some people, the PSA 9, like, just having the card is a grail card for them, right?
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the PSA 10. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, I like the list too. You know me, I love Topps Heritage, so I would have included that in my top 5.
Yeah.
As an automatic.
So many, yeah.
But I would have also maybe included, I like your top 5, but if I had to do a top 5, maybe I would have included also the Topps Finest. I think it's underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's an on-card auto. A lot of it, they have parallels that are numbered, and it's totally affordable. And
for sure.
Something we discussed in our previous episode, right? Like, people are going to realize this is still a Vladimir Guerrero on-card autograph numbered card, and it's worth 50% of the other on-card autograph cards. And when those, more premium ones, I guess, when those get out of reach financially, what's going to happen to the Finest? That's going to start going up too, because it's
absolutely,
it's going to be in higher demand. But yeah, no, that's a great list. I like it.
Yep.
Johnny, you're up next, so we'll come back to you in the next episode for your top 5.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Now it's time for Pick 1. We tried our new Pick 1 format last week, which was a lot of fun, I thought, where each one of us chose a pair of players, but we all selected one from each pair on who we'd rather invest in, and we explained why. So I can start things off this week. For my Pick 1 pair, I chose Luka Doncic versus LeBron James. And the reason I pit these studs together is, they both dominate in the NBA. They're both cream of the crop type players, and they're both highly valued in the hobby, right? But I guess the main difference is Luka is, of course, significantly younger. It's much more to prove, and his career is just beginning. While LeBron already has his future Hall of Fame stats in the bag, but his career is winding down. So ultimately, who do you guys choose, Luka or LeBron?
I'm going to go with, based on prices, I'm going to say both, but based on prices, I'm going to say Luka, only because I'm a gambler. Mm-hmm. I like to live in the now moment. So, and I'm not saying by any means, the chances of me getting a LeBron numbered cards, it's probably not going to happen. The chances of me getting a numbered Luka card, a lot more than LeBron. So I like the potential I have, with Luka, and I feel like I'm, I don't want to pay, the premium for like just a Topps Chrome. I rather, get into, a big Luka card at that point and enjoy kind of the youth and see the next generation of, Luka, because that kid's going to win championships. I'm telling you, he's such a fun guy, fun personality. He's exactly what, the game needs. And, he commands respect from his peers as well. Right. And to be an icon, from not just in America, but, globally, right? And he's a stud in the Euro market. Everybody knows who Luka is, right? So this guy's like, I guess in the same situation as Shohei. You know, he has that international crowd as well. So yeah, I'm going Luka.
Yeah, legit reasons. Johnny.
Yeah. Same with me. I'm gonna go Luka, and almost the exact same reasons. My main reason though is again, like Hyung said, the pricing. I think the market has corrected. It's, you know, some, like I would say it kind of crashed, but Luka has taken an absurd hit, and we've talked about this before. How Luka is basically one of the poster boys of this narrative of pop reports and you know pop reports, right? So I think because of that, I don't know how else to really explain it, but his cards have really taken a hit, especially base. You know, when you're looking at select, it's pop 1400, 1500, and these are going for under $400. Like that is
that's ridiculous.
That's absurd. Wow. We're talking
that's a buy.
Like anyone who's watched Luka, I think everyone will agree. Special talent. Yeah. He's got to be winning championships. He's going to be in contention to be winning multiple MVPs in the next 10 years. International flavor. He's got it all, man. He's fun to watch. Yeah. I love Luka, and to see select one of the premier products, PSA 10 going for under 400. Ooh, that is a big time buy. So I pick number one, the second reason, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I'm a bit of a LeBron hater. I don't own any LeBron cards. I actually do wish I had some. I'd still respect and recognize him in the top, you know, like at best second all time. I'm going to say that again. Second all time in the GOAT conversation. But I'd still respect him. Like we're watching greatness, and I'll respect that. Yeah. But I just don't own any LeBron. Yes, it is expensive, but I don't, you know, as a fan, as a collector, I don't have any real desire to even own LeBron, other than greed that I want it because I know it's gonna be worth a lot of money. Yeah, but
that's fair.
Yeah, in terms of so LeBron, bit of a hater, but yeah, I'm going Luka.
I feel like this one was easy one for you guys this week. I'm going LeBron. I think I like your initial point, Hyung, that you made, which was when you said you're a gambler. Whereas I'm more like, I want a really nice blue chip stock and just kind of ride it, you know? And,
right.
And I think depending on, you know, your temperament for gambling, or you'll invest in those assets accordingly. So for me, I would love to have just one nice LeBron PSA 10 rookie, and knowing that, you know, it won't go down. Like it might start to increase at a slower pace for sure because it's already so high. But LeBron, you know, I'm going to agree. I feel like he's number 2 on my list too, Johnny. I guess.
There we go.
MJ's one, right? But
yeah, obviously.
But yeah, and I love Luka. Like the right answer is both. But if for this game, for pick one, if I had to choose one, I'm going to save up to get a LeBron in my personal collection.
Yep. Nice.
Who's next?
And you know, to add to that before we close off, I think what us old heads need to also recognize is that most of the younger crowd and younger generation views LeBron as number one. They view him as a GOAT.
For sure.
So as these guys are collecting, as they grow in the industry,
that's a good point.
You know, it could be majority. We could be sitting here 10 years from now when LeBron's retired. Majority of the younger fans and general population could be talking LeBron number one, even though I'm sitting here going, there is no way he's going to surpass MJ.
Yeah.
But that conversation might change with the younger generation. So you don't know. Like we sit here thinking it's a blue chip card. It's going to steadily go up. But as younger people come into the game, I think LeBron's cards have a chance to grow exponentially, right? So
yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, that reminds me of another reason for me to pick LeBron is I think even after he retires, he's going to be relevant in culture. You know what I mean? He's going to be
absolutely.
He's going to be out and about. Yeah. He has a lot of business ventures, and he's going to be relevant. So that will also help with his card value, in my opinion.
Right.
All right. So I I brought baseball back, and we're gonna go with Juan Soto versus Mike Trout.
Ooh.
And kind of the reason why I kind of picked this combo was one, I like the kind of like the polarity of young versus kind of old, right? And when you look at Soto, in no way is he Mike Trout, but Soto has done incredible things like a World Series. He has a batting title. I think World Series MVP too, or I don't know if he was, but he's the younger generation, and his prices have taken a big hit over the last 3 months because his hype in going into 2021 was incredible, and he kind of, I would say, underperformed. Still ended up making the All-Star roster, right? So another accolade to kind of his career, but his prices are tremendously low. So, and then I take Mike Trout on the flip side, whose prices are also relatively down, I'd say, because of his injury, but I also think his prices are a little inflated, right? So that's why I kind of brought up who would you guys kind of pick, and I'll let you know who I kind of pick at the end.
Oh man, I had picked, but now I don't know if I'm going to change my mind.
Swayed you, huh?
That's
why
I know,
I had to
man.
throw that. I had to throw that in there, disclaimer, before you guys say it. I got to say my piece first before you guys could respond.
Yeah, because this your pick is so similar to Luka versus LeBron. Right?
Yeah,
We're talking.
That's why I did it.
Mike Trout is widely considered one of, if not the greatest. We could be watching the greatest player of all time and watching the rest of his career. And my first pick was Mike Trout. It's an easy pick, and I don't think there's a wrong pick here, but I'm actually going to switch it to Soto to stay consistent with my Luka pick. I think Soto started off slow. There is no question Soto is one of the young rising studs, future Hall of Famer type of players in baseball, exactly like Luka. So, and he had a slow start compared to some of the other guys who took a lot of the wind. And his car prices have taken a hit. So I think Soto is criminally low right now, and I think it's a great opportunity to buy. I don't think his rarer stuff, like his numbered cards, are low. I'm pretty sure, like you said, Hyung, people are still hanging on to those. They're not selling it. You're not really seeing them on eBay. But in terms of base, maybe refractors, who knows? You might get lucky and get some numbered cards who appear on eBay, but I think that the opportunity on Soto is pretty low right now, so I'm going to pick Soto.
Soto, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the value is in Soto 100%, but for the exact same reasons, just substitute LeBron out of my previous answer and put in Mike Trout, and you got my answer.
I'm gonna see some consistency here.
Yeah. So, I mean, Mike Trout, generational player. I would love to have his card right next to my future LeBron card in my personal collection, and just hold those few cards in the safe. But
nice.
Yeah, and I also think, let's be honest, for some people, and including myself a little bit, having these amazing cards is kind of a flex. I would love to just show off every once in a while a Mike Trout rookie or a LeBron rookie if I had one, and yeah, so
for sure, no doubt.
But Mike Trout, again, generational player. The only thing that's a little different from my LeBron pick, although all the other reasons are similar or the same, is that I don't know if Mike Trout's going to win a World Series championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Does it matter?
In the long run, it doesn't. But I mean,
it should.
Yeah.
Or should it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean,
maybe another episode. Yeah.
Maybe another episode. I mean, when you add
up
up
they could go to the moon if he wins a championship.
Yeah. So maybe for that reason, just to hope that he'll actually pull off a World Series win sometime in his career. Yeah, maybe that'll further help me decide for Mike Trout. But yeah, Mike Trout for me.
Trout, eh? Okay. So, I own both, and I'm a both as well. They're both like low, but like for me, Soto's the buy. And I say this, we're going to see the consistency and trend like we talked about. I'm a gambler.
Yeah.
You know, I like what I see in Soto. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to do stupid things, right? He's already done stupid things, given that, you know, like, so for me, his price, and it's a perfect marriage too, because Soto doesn't have a lot of cards. And we might do maybe a pick 5 on that later on in the future. But I'm telling you right now, it is the perfect marriage of a supply-demand monster of someone who is going to become iconic in the game. And that's why it's like they hyped up Acuna. Acuna has so many more rookie cards, so many more cards available than Juan Soto. Yeah. And you got a Ted Williams type, you know, player in Soto with very, very limited runs of rookie cards. So to me, it's a perfect marriage right now to buy Soto, because he's, like John said, criminally cheap. Just criminally cheap, where his talent in the long run is gonna kind of show. And like you said, the people that are holding, you know, the Bowman Chromes, the first Chromes and stuff, you know, the base took a hit a bit, you know, but you know, you look at the colors, you know, you're gonna see record breaking, you know, sales every year, right? You know, so yeah. But for me, I like both, but Soto is the perfect marriage in terms of, you know, grabbing cards that are very rare, that are going to be very rare. Even his base, like his Topps Chrome update, super low pop. Like there's no Topps Chrome before that. There's no cards of Soto in paper other than, you know, his US 300 image. And then you have his parallels there and his update parallels, right? And that's why that's all the rookie cards you really have in his heritage, right? After that, there's not much in terms of kind of his image. So yeah,
it's a good point.
That's me, Soto. Yeah,
excellent points for sure,
guys. This is tough, man. I mean, guys like Trout, LeBron, like the goats of their respective sports. Anytime you have an opportunity, I mean, almost everyone says it, but get in while you can, right?
Right.
So there's always going to be that FOMO, that layer of FOMO with a guy like Mike Trout. I would love to get into Mike Trout, and I keep holding off, but you know, Clark, you and I could be sitting here 12 months from now, doing this podcast, and that, you know, Mike Trout could have won a championship. Right. His update could be at $7,500, and we'd be sitting here going, man, you know, like we should have got in while we could, right? While it was a bit low, right? So that conversation always, the get in while you can quote, always kind of surrounds these goats, and that's what makes it really tough to pass on them.
Yeah, but it's human nature. We talk about this all the time, right? Like when the hobby's hot, we're like, oh, you know, I wish the hobby would take a dip, and if it ever hit this low point, I'm all in. And then it hits that low point, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna see if it goes any lower. You know, you get afraid, right? You get fearful that you're gonna lose all your money. But human nature.
So true.
For sure.
All right, Johnny, what's your
all right, boys?
Pick one.
I'm gonna put us homers to the test, and I'm gonna actually give hockey some love. So we're gonna go Auston Matthews versus Nathan MacKinnon. Both young stars in the game, absolute studs, and both of their young gun PSA 10s kind of float around the $1,000 to $1,200 mark. Yeah. So very similar in terms of investment, very similar in terms of player. I'm going to put those two together.
All right. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but you know, I'm going Auston Matthews because, you know, he's a Toronto boy. I'm a Toronto boy, bigger market, you know, and you know, hockey's huge in Toronto. It's for me it's pretty simple. Bigger market, and you know, I know who he is actually.
There it is. Homer number one. Let's go, Clark.
I'm going to go with Auston Matthews as well. You know what? Like, for the same reasons that Hyung mentioned. And I love Nathan MacKinnon. Like, I think I think his stats will be better than Matthews in the long run, like when you add it all up. And, you know, I like the Avalanche as a team right now. I think they have a better shot than the Leafs to win a cup. But yeah, I think what really helped me determine my choice is that hockey cards are still number one in Canada, right? Like if you go to a local card show right now, it might have changed in the last year. Like we haven't been to one because of COVID, but the last one I went to a couple of years ago before COVID, like every other booth is selling hockey cards. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In Toronto. And the Toronto market, again, is huge for hockey. And Auston Matthews being a Maple Leaf, that's going to, you know, always create high demand. So for hockey, yeah, it was a hard choice in terms of talent, but for the hobby, I think Auston Matthews is the way to go.
Man, I thought it was going to be a lot tougher than that. The homers, we all came through. This is going to be a clean sweep. I'm picking Auston Matthews. Shamefully picking Auston Matthews as well. But I'm going to say why I pick between the two. I think a lot of people will make the argument Nathan MacKinnon has opportunities to win more cups. Mm-hmm. You know, clearly Toronto is not shaping up what we thought they were supposed to be. So I would give the edge there to MacKinnon. But I'm going to, from an investment standpoint, I'm going to make the point about picking players within your own hometown. So if we have Colorado listeners, between the two, you're picking Nathan MacKinnon. And it's because, you know, the big conversation now is selling on Facebook, eBay fees, consignment fees. Like when you pick a hometown guy and it's hot and it's a hot player, you have that additional eyes, additional business opportunities to sell at local card shows, to do straight up local trades. You meet with a guy like down the street and avoid fees. And you're talking about bigger profits, right? So for that reason, that local play shouldn't be underrated. And that's why I'm going to go Auston Matthews between a 50-50 coin flip. So that's just something to obviously consider. Like we're kind of blessed right now in Toronto because we've got some hot stars, right? There's Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, you got Vladi, you got Bo Bichette. Mm-hmm. Those, you know, at the end of the day, whenever our boys invest in these guys or when we buy these cards, there's that X factor. We could sell it at local card shows. We can sell it to local guys and make 100% profit. There's nothing skimming off the top, right? So, so I'm picking Auston Matthews. It's going to be a clean sweep.
Yeah, that's a great point, Johnny. So for future pick ones, you know, for us, to make it more difficult, maybe we should just stay away from Toronto players.
It's like no ban the Toronto players because I think there's a huge bias in this.
Hey man, I tried to make it difficult. MacKinnon, like Hyung put Devers. I don't think that was much of a fight, but like, you know what? I think I might get him this time with MacKinnon, but it didn't work.
It was still fun. All right, that actually wraps up another episode of Cards to the Moon. Again, we appreciate all of our listeners and subscribers to the podcast. And if you enjoyed the show, we appreciate you giving us 5 stars and a follow. And thanks, Hyung and John, as always. And yeah, we'll look forward to another new episode next week.
It was fun. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys. Or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again and hope to connect soon.